Well, hello and good morning, guys. We are going to be kicking off the final set of our social media series. We have been going for about 4 weeks now. We started with the basics of basically just how to start a goal and get the plan rolling, and all the way through how to find your target audience and how to start creating posts around that target audience. And now today we are going to have Ashley. She's going to be kicking off the final part of our series where she's going to be talking about the results and what we should be looking at now that we've been posting for a couple of weeks. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Ashley. Please remember that if you have been following along, to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell for notifications when we go live. And I will turn this now over to Ashley.
Thank you, Jazz. So we are going to be talking about the metrics, and now that we've done all this hard work to figure out, the how, the why, the what, now we're going to look back at whether or not our campaigns have actually been successful, making sure that we understand how to determine that success going forward. And then, do we need to pivot at this point? When do we know if we do need to pivot? By making sure we have those metrics in place and that we're actually monitoring them, setting goals for yourself, setting a schedule for yourself to check back in on things. So the results are in. Now what? Jazz loves this one. What gets measured gets accomplished. You need to understand what your metrics mean and how to adjust your marketing plan accordingly, to know that, if you have success, that's great. Is there room for any improvements? If there are, great. If not, maybe you just keep going on that campaign, and maybe if that one's, chugging along good, maybe you add in another one, if that fits your marketing plans. So we made it to week 4. Congratulations, everyone. We're at the analyze and adjust phase. So now we need to look at, what went good, what went bad, and how we can improve and iterate. Sometimes this is the uncomfortable phase, especially when you're first getting started, and it's kind of awkward, finding the right, things to write in your posts, getting used to getting, that user persona's voice and connecting with people isn't always an easy thing. So this is sometimes not a fun stage, but it's also super important. So we're looking at creating your campaign goals, the metrics to measure, making sure to set a time frame for your campaign run. You don't want to set it, just start and not have set that metric of like 3 months from now, I'm going to check in on this and see if it's brought success. You don't want to be like 3 years down the road still using the same campaign and it's not bringing you results still. You didn't check back in with it. And then making sure that time frame is reasonable. Tracking your success and then analyzing and adjusting as you go. So the rollout timeline. So we're looking at stage 1. You want to set some specific marketing campaign goals, again, based on those user personas that you already set out. Knowing what your goal for the marketing is super, super important. Then you want to determine some KPIs you will measure and how to track them. Does anyone not know what a KPI is? No? Okay, so it's a key, it's on a future slide. Key something indicator. We'll get there.
Key performance indicator.
I'm sure Jazz is screaming it at me in the background.
Yep.
And then
key performance indicator is the name.
Key performance indicator. Thank you so much. And setting an adult time frame to run your marketing campaign. Don't expect results in 7 days. Odds are good that's not going to happen. And again, those instant likes and comments aren't necessarily always an indication of success, depending on what your KPIs are. Stage 4, you want to track your results week to week for the campaign duration. Again, just kind of keep an eye and an ear on the different ways that your marketing might actually be working, might not be working. Take little notes here and there as you see things and check in on stuff. You want to analyze your results and then adjust your marketing plan accordingly, and then rinse, wash, and repeat. So iteration is a huge part of business. A lot of people strive for perfection, and sometimes that's a really, really big mistake and causes a lot of business failure because people expect that they're going to get to like this golden stage of not having to do as much work. And, you know, you will eventually get to have a stage where you can automate some things, but there will always be a need to pay attention to your customers. Your customers might change, their likes, their tastes might change, what platforms they're using might change. Facebook might completely change their strategy. They might change the way that, you know, users use it. Now that we're going into the metaverse, maybe their target audience isn't even the 40 to 60 range anymore. Maybe they target now like the TikToker frame. So it's really important to always at least be somewhat paying attention in the background to your campaigns, knowing, you know, what that KPI was. And if that might not even be your business goal at some point. You might even change, your business might change. You might have to change those KPIs. So just really constantly getting used to doing iterative work when it comes to, well, anything in your business really, but especially your marketing campaigns, because things change so fast. So we're going to talk a little bit about setting specific marketing campaign goals. So throughout the maturity of your business, you're going to have different reasons for running a marketing campaign. Usually in the beginning, you're building some brand awareness. Then you might be trying to manage that brand reputation. You might be trying to increase traffic to your website, improving your community engagement. If you're building a community, you need to increase and improve the quality. You might want to be boosting conversions or sales. That could be on your website, that could be on your Etsy site, that could be on your Facebook page, that could be in your brick and mortar. But your marketing campaign, you know, will determine that KPI is going to determine whether are you trying to target the awareness, like people know where you're at, or are you trying to sell a certain product, right? Those are two different things. Generating leads, or are you delivering customer service? Are you providing a value to your people? Are you asking them how their visit to your store was? Maybe you served a new type of coffee bean and you want to get some feedback from your customers. That might be a different campaign that you're running. So there's lots of reasons you might run a marketing campaign. So if you don't know that goal, that's a big, whoa, wait a minute moment. So next you need to determine key performance indicators and that you will measure and how you will track them. So it might be post reach. How many people have seen a post since it went live? If you're looking to grow your audience, that might be something you want to pay attention to, because you need to know how many people are you reaching? Are you reaching your target audience? Did you maybe not run the campaign at the right time of day? Did you not run it on the right platform? You're going to have to do some experimentation if that might be your KPI. Social share of voice. How many people have seen a post since it went live? Now that might be, those are the same, Jess. Social share of voice. Oh, they're all the same. That's funny. Anyway, social share of voice, potential reach, iteration, guys, iteration at its finest, potential reach, and audience growth rate. So again, what is it that you're measuring? Going back to the why, what is it that you want to know? What is it you want to achieve with your audience? And knowing what is it that you're tracking. And there's actually a lot of information even online for this kind of thing that will help you determine what the correct KPI is for whatever one of those goals are for your business. Setting a time frame to run your marketing campaign. So again, typically it takes at least 90 days to build momentum around a digital marketing effort. Most generally extend 6 to 12 months, especially in a rural area. We have a different way of life here, and a big thing for Yoopers is building trust. So it takes a lot of times for them to see like an ad or something before they will convert or before they take any kind of action on that. So knowing your audience is going to determine that time frame a little bit too. And while a campaign might last several months, a specific message should change more often, maybe every 45 to 60 days. 45 days is about how long it takes for them to retain and recall information. I think it's something like 9 times someone has to see the same or a similar message before they make a decision on it. And I think that number keeps increasing and increasing the more that we have information overload with the availability of the internet. So a typical SEO campaign takes roughly 12 months to be fully optimized. And does everybody know what SEO is? No? So that's search engine optimization. That one I do know. And so that's how Google ranks you in their searchability. So when someone Googles, your business name, that Google is going to send information to that database based on how well you have SEO'd your website, how often you're putting keywords in your social posts, and it will present that information to the people that are searching for, let's say, somebody Googles career services in Marquette, Michigan. If you guys haven't SEO'd all of your stuff to include keywords from knowing who your user personas are and what kind of keywords they're going to search for, Google's not going to present you as an option necessarily. There might be 7 others in that list that come up in the search results first if you haven't properly done SEO. So that's another fun one to get into. We'll probably have some courses on SEO down the line, because that's another one that, as the internet continues to grow and taking your messaging online continues to be a more common thing, SEO will become more and more important, because we're vying for that first spot, to be the visible option. Because how many times when someone does a search, are they going to click through 10 pages of search results to pick one? Not very often. So very important. So tracking your results for campaign duration. Content metrics. Tracking content metrics allows you to analyze the content you share on social media and spot specific patterns. 75% of your posts are image-based and only 25% are video-based. How is that approach working for you? It's going to depend on your user persona, right? So much of this is trial and error. And that's why this stage is so important, because if you just quit after the first time, you're giving up way too early. You don't know how your audience might respond, because their taste might have changed from what your perceived assumptions were on what they might like. Maybe video does better. And if you started with just images, then you're missing out on catching their attention. Try something new and see if that works better. Timing metrics. What time of day are you posting on social media? When are they engaging the most with your content? Pick a couple different times when you're starting out to post, see which one's going to get the most engagement. And then when you find one, consistently try and post and see if that really improves the traction of your campaign. Are your posts timely and relevant to your audience? Are you too late to the game? Is the information you're giving them not as valuable as it was a month ago? Especially with COVID, things change fast now. You almost have to be like 3 steps ahead of your target audience to know what it is you're going to be posting, especially if you're posting a month at a time. It's good to stay up on knowing what the next trend is going to be, or knowing, like, if you're a seasonal business, always thinking ahead of the game when you're running your campaigns. Especially like you guys have your students, a lot of them leave in the summer. That's probably not a great time to send a ton of posts on, getting started, or, different things. They're in a different version of their journey at that point, right? And then audience metrics, making sure whether your target audience is engaging with your content. If they're primarily a certain target age and Instagram is 90% women aged 20 to 50, you're posting in the wrong spot. Are you attracting the wrong people? We talked about that, I think, last week or the week before. Maybe you do have traction, but if it's not your target customer, you're not going to get conversions. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really, yes, you're getting attention, but is it from the right person that connects back to that goal that you set? Because if you're getting attention and it's not to the goal, then you need to make some adjustments still. Doesn't mean that you're still on the right track, if that makes sense. And then analyzing your results and adjusting your marketing plan. You want to, again, iteration, iteration, iteration. Small businesses should get super comfortable with being wrong a lot. I mean, any business, really. Higher ups, bigger corporations have a lot more capability because they have more people paying attention, that they don't have to worry about all the little small, minute details. But when you're a small operation, everyone needs to know what's going on and be paying attention to work together to be able to make these pivots all the time, because everything is going to constantly be changing so frequently. And you need to be able to adjust and continue to move forward. Otherwise, especially if you're putting dollars into like Facebook ads or something, if you're just throwing money at the wall and not paying attention to how effectively it's really serving you, that's such a waste of your money. Don't do that. Like, just don't do it at all. You need to be able to pay attention and adjust, and it is time consuming, but it will be worth it because we know that social marketing works. It's one of the top ways that we're transitioning into marketing. Yes, traditional marketing still works around here a lot, but especially if your audience isn't necessarily only here, you guys probably get a lot of travelers that come through and are interested in, buying something while they're in town. How are you staying connected with them when they go home? Are you continuing that journey to talk to them about, hey, how's your purchase? How's it working in your area? Maybe they have a different terrain, or maybe they busted something on their traveling when they got, to their home destination. Are you connecting with them and making sure that they have the ability to still connect with you, via your socials? Like, so much, there's just so many factors that go into having all that additional. It's not just making a post. That's really what we wanted to get at today. It's not just throwing posts out and hoping that something's going to happen. There's so much behind the curtain that needs to happen. And it does get a little overwhelming of like, oh my gosh, there's just so much I have to keep track of. But if you have like this timeline, right, and you just set yourself some, like, maybe calendar reminders, like, hey, I need to check our Facebook ad KPIs. They have a great system on there. There's a lot going on, but you can at least get a dashboard view of like, okay, this post had 300 engagements and 200 clicks, and that I posted at 8 a.m. and the post I made at 3 p.m. had 3 people saw it, right? So simple things like that don't take a ton of time, if you set good reminders for yourself to constantly be like staying aware and paying attention to those kinds of things. And then, rinse, wash, repeat. Do it all over again. It might be a new campaign because something changed, or you're just constantly improving your current campaign until you've achieved that goal. At what point do you achieve that goal? You have to have that KPI to know when you've achieved it. What do you want? Do you want to grow your Facebook channel because that's the prime audience? You're creating some brand awareness. Maybe you want to grow your Facebook channel to 600 followers. It's a very distinct number. And that way, when you've hit it, right? And if you're not hitting it, you can make adjustments to that marketing campaign. But if you don't have those goals and those metrics, how do you ever know if you're successful? You can't base it on likes. It's just not that's not success anymore. So this one's pretty short and sweet. Does anyone have questions? Because it's very overwhelming. So we wanted to leave plenty of time for everyone to, like, if anything was confusing, to make sure that we answer all your questions.
I guess I don't know. I feel like at the bike shop we have such a wide target audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a hard time imagining like I guess how do you target such a wide range of people? We get all kinds of people with all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
From all over the Midwest.
So the question was, just so I repeat it for people online, if you have a really wide target audience, how do you focus on who is like the ideal customer? So that is a mix of knowing that data and then also knowing your business. So when you think of who your ideal client is, that if you gave them like, hey, we're Quick Stop Bike Shop, and whatever it is that you do specifically, like what is it that you guys, what makes you different than any other bike shop in the area? Do you know?
Probably our service department.
Great. So Quick Stop Bike Shop takes care of your bike needs and gets you back on the road in under 4 minutes. You know, whatever that might be. That sentence that you have, and by the way, when you build your website, that needs to be right at the top of the page.
Here's like,
Whatever that statement is, right? That's your story brand. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. That sentence is how you're connecting with your ideal customer. But knowing that, and then knowing your personas that you currently have, who out of that audience would see that and be like, yes, instantly, because that's going to be your person. That's your ideal customer. There will be other people that are like, oh yeah, it's a great spot to shop. They're not your ideal customers. They might still use your service, but they're not the ideal person. Like, I'm not a really great biker, but because you guys are not, you know, nearby, I might just go to that shop, right? Because I know you now. But that doesn't make me your ideal client, right? So you might have a couple different sectors of ideal clients, but there's always going to be one that stands out the most. You're a really avid biker who's very, very busy and cares to know that they're going to be taken care of when they walk into your shop. They aren't someone that just wants the cheapest option, right? They want to know that you have authority, and that's part of your job through your socials, right? Building that authority and understanding that you need to create trust with your customers. If you're leaning on service and the fact that you provide the best service in town, that's a trust builder, right? So what you want to do is, who's your target customer then? What type of person is that? It doesn't have to be exact. You don't need to pick one person, but like find an age range, you know, where do they live? What kind of hobbies do they have? Again, building that user persona. And then you can have other ones that will gravitate towards you just because you really nailed down that ideal customer and you are targeting your messaging and being very clear and consistent with that one type of ideal customer. Other people will just gravitate towards you because they see you creating authority and you're the guide. You're not being the hero. They'll automatically, if they're anywhere in that wide circle, like here's your target and they're in this circle, they're going to see you being amazing here and they're just going to want to buy from you, right? So at least start with that really ideal client, and then you can work out from there. If you decide, hey, we want to bring in like one more type of client, maybe it's the travelers, and then you're focusing in on what are their problems that they're having and how are you meeting their needs, and then create a campaign that serves that line of thinking. Does that kind of answer your question? Yeah, because then a lot of people worry, and this is something that I constantly have to watch. Chris Do from The Future is like my hero. He teaches creative business owners how to basically like own their business and charge the right amounts. It's all about like creating positive sales engagements. It's not a salesy thing. It's about building relationships, right? And he focuses in on a lot of the creating it's not a niche, right? But just really knowing that sentence. What is it that makes you different from everyone else? And how is that solving a problem for someone? And who is that person? Because if you know that, you become like a rock star, right? For that person, and other people are just going to notice. Like people who have really high quality service, it's not necessarily that they're shouting to everyone how amazing they are. It's that they're just doing one thing really, really well. And people will talk about it and tell their friends and tell their grandma, and then their grandma will tell their friends. And all of that creates, they might do Google reviews for you. And then the next time someone searches for a bike shop, Google's going to stick you up higher in the ranking because you have 100 5-star ratings when it comes to service, right? So all those things really help. A lot of people are very afraid that if they niche down too much, they're going to never sell to anyone. And it takes some time. Like there's growing pains, right? Of if you haven't been doing that all along, some of your customers are going to be like, well, wait, why aren't you paying attention to me? But eventually, like, that will work itself out. And you don't have to be like, forget everyone else necessarily. It's just that you're more focused and intentional about how you're marketing. Makes sense. Yeah. Anybody else? That was really long-winded. I'm sorry. That was a great question, though. No one has any questions? Jazz, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I thought you did a great job. I actually was yelling, but you must have had your thing down, be like KPI, but that's okay. No, I think it was a really great job, and honestly, thank you everybody who has attended all of these workshops. These have all been seminar based, and we hope to create more content in the future that's very educational in this kind of format. But then we also want to expand on this into more of a workshop environment where we can actually I know when you were just talking about the quick shot bike, we would love to take people through that actual exercise of figuring out the actual personas, because it is something that takes time. We got to do some research. We got to sit down. We got to look at, pulling out a few of your customers that you have that you're like, oh, there's, we did this with our business. We kind of pulled out certain customers that we had and put them into groups like, oh, these guys are all alike because of this reason. These guys are all alike because of this reason. These guys are like this, and when we do our workshop on personas, we can actually pull out our personas of our own and actually showcase to you exactly what we went through and how we did that. And it honestly, that took us, we worked on that as a group of us co-founders. It was like a 3 to 4 hour event, like of us, like literally saying, well, wait, what a second. Why is this person different than this? And from that moment, though, our business and our marketing, and you guys will probably start to see this over the course of the next probably 3 to 6 months as well, is going to really start getting targeted in on those specific user personas. So, hopefully we'll start to demonstrate with our own content some of the principles that we've done here. And I won't leave pieces of my presentation the same thing where I've copied and pasted it and forgot to change it out. But, we're just trying to show to you guys that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. You just have to start. I've taken some mental notes today, and I'm going to put those on my list of things to change. An iteration. And sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes mistakes can be a great way to get engagement, because I'm sure there'll be people who will watch our stuff and pick out our flaws and comment, and that gives us an opportunity. Sometimes negative is a great way to start a conversation. And so don't be afraid to make mistakes while you're doing this, because like Ashley said, iteration is going to be the king, but while iterating, you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes because you're trying to do a lot of things a lot more quickly. But don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Those are learning things too. So thank you again, like I said, everybody who's attended. Thank you, Ashley, for presenting today. And we will look forward to in the future starting a new series. So if anybody's interested in letting us know what the next topic that they would find would be really interesting, something they would want to learn around business, personal development, financial development, we're open ears, and we would be more than glad to also look for facilitators who might actually want to teach on that content too. So please make sure you drop that in the comments for us if you can, or reach us out on our Discord, and we would be more than happy to listen to some feedback. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.